Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It is Monday morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Swipe and share, swipe and share, swipe and share. Hope that everybody's doing well this morning. Hope that you had a wonderful, cold, but wonderful wintry weekend. I love the cold. I don't know about you. Good morning, Jonah. Here as usual. And good morning to all of you. Hope that this weekend was wonderful for you. I had a great weekend. Good weekend to do what you have to do and get back to the house. Hello there, Naisha. Hey, Miss Nachi. I asked about you yesterday. Hey, Miss Christy. Taurus, I hope you're doing well, my friend. Hope that everybody's doing well. Hey, tell Brother Ori hello. It was good to see him yesterday. This is never going to end until we go meet Jesus. I'm just telling you right now. Hey, I got a question for you. What kind of start are you getting off to in the new year, as far as your resolution, your commitment, what you said you were going to change for this year? I got off to a really good start last week, y'all. Y'all know that for about the last 4 or 5 years, if you've been around me, you know that my New Year's resolution is always what? You can fill in the blank. You know what it is. To lose weight. Hey, Helen. Wow, we are praying for her. She's going to do well. She told me her major yesterday in this super molecular biochemical something with a double major on it. And I'm sitting there. I got a head hurt when she was telling me. I got a headache when she was telling me. But she's a smart girl. We're praying that she does well. But mine, you know that mine is always the same. It's to lose weight. No, Miss Christie, I can already beat you at running. It's to lose weight. It's always the same. And every year, that was my wife. Every year, I start out good, and then all of a sudden, I lose focus. Last year, I started out, lost 20 pounds right out the gate, and somehow ended up this year gaining more last year than I lost. And it happens that way for me every year. But I know what the problem is. The problem for me in that area is the same as some of you in areas where you have missed the mark in things you want to accomplish. And that is, I get jammed up when it comes time to sacrifice. David said, I will not offer to the Lord that which costs me nothing. David understood the idea of sacrifice. You see, sacrifice is something that costs you. And if it doesn't cost you, it isn't sacrifice. And for many of us, hey, Miss Audrey, many of us, where we get jammed up, where we get messed up when it comes to the things that we want, when it comes to the things that our lives need, is when it comes down to having to sacrifice. And my question for you this morning is simple. How much stuff do you have in your life that could already be done? How much stuff do you have in your life that would already be taken care of? How much stuff do you have how many areas in your life would already be elevated? You would already be on the next level. You would already be moving into the next area that God wants you to move in if you would stop trying to avoid sacrifice. Listen. Somebody gave me a crazy statistic the other day. Somebody told me that in the African American community, and I know not all African Americans watch this, but this applies. Somebody told me that in the African American community, we have $1.1 trillion of spending power. 1.1 trillion, not million, not billion, but $1 trillion of spending power. And then they also said to me, however, 20 years ago, that money stayed in the African American community on average for about a day. 30 years ago, I'm sorry. And then they said to me that 10 years ago, that money stayed in the African American community on average about 3 hours. And right now, today, that $1.1 trillion stays in the African American community on average for 1 hour before it's gone out. And it made me think about it. They said, if you think about it, we don't have in the African American community, the last lost business in our community is the barber shop. We don't have corner stores anymore. We don't own our own businesses anymore in our community. And they said that 60% of African Americans can't put their hands on $300 if they needed it. They said that 98% of African Americans can't put their hands on $3,000 to $5,000 if they needed it. And we got to talking about it, and you know what it is? It's the idea of sacrifice. Listen, and it's not just a problem that's germane to the African American community, but society in general. We no longer know what it is to give up something that might be good for something that's definitely greater than whatever the good is. You have a lot of things in your life that are good, but that are stopping you from having the best. And sometimes you have to sacrifice what's good in order to get what's best. Some things you have to say no to for a season. Some things you have to sacrifice for a season. You get it later on so that you can have what's best later on. Dave Ramsey said it this way. He said, if you want to live like no one else, well, then you got to make up in your mind that you're going to live like no one else. In other words, you have to be willing to do what normal people aren't willing to do in order to live above the normal person, in order to be able to do what the normal person cannot do. And I just want to challenge you this morning, man, to the idea of sacrifice. What in your life are you going to have to give up? Are you going to have to stop? Are you going to have to put to the side? Are you going to have to put on hold? Are you going to have to sacrifice? And listen, hear me on this. If it don't make you uncomfortable, if it doesn't cause you to have to adjust some things, to have to move some things around, if it doesn't cause you to have to readjust some stuff, well, then it's not sacrifice. It's not sacrifice. Listen, I want to challenge you to the idea of sacrifice this year, to take a critical look at your life. For you, it might be financially. But for you, it might be in the area of time. For you, it might be like for me, in the area of what you eat. I don't want to sacrifice my Haagen-Dazs caramel cone ice cream treat at 12 o'clock at night so I can drop these 40 pounds. I don't want to do it. Lord have mercy. Jesus, y'all pray for me, because that's going to be my struggle this year. But what do you have to sacrifice in order for you to get what God has for you? Don't laugh at my struggle. That's mean. But listen, we got to be willing to sacrifice. We got to be willing to give some stuff up, man, in order to accomplish God's best for us. We got to be willing to say no to ourselves. And listen, I'm going to say this again. If it doesn't cost you, if it doesn't make you a little bit uncomfortable, if it doesn't move you up out position, if it doesn't cause you to say, oh man, this is tough, then it's not sacrifice. And I just want to challenge us, man. I know that all of us have resolutions. We've said we're going to do this better. I've seen posts about new year, new me, and all this kind of stuff. Listen, if you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. If you don't change anything, everything is going to stay the same. So I want to challenge you to make this the year of sacrifice. In the areas that you've been trying to change for a long time, I want to challenge you to sacrifice what you have to sacrifice, move whatever you have to move, so that you can have God's best for you, and that very thing that you've been struggling with all this time can finally come to pass. How do we know what God wants us to sacrifice? Great question. Prayer. You go in prayer. You go in prayer and you ask God. God says the reason why you lack wisdom, check out James 3. He says the reason why you lack wisdom is because you don't ask for it. You ask God what he wants you to sacrifice. You ask God what he wants you to give up. And God will show you. And then some stuff, it doesn't take asking God. Some stuff we know. We know by the pain in our lives. We know by the lack of accomplishment in our lives. We know by what we're not getting done. Listen, you know if you're watching too much TV. You know if you're wasting too much time. You know if you don't read enough. You know if you're spending too much money. You know, some stuff you know. Other areas might require some prayer, but most of the time we know what we need to give up in order to be the best that God wants us to be. I'm so glad you asked that question. But if it's a situation where you don't know, God says ask him. He says ask me. And he'll give you the answer. It'll become so blatantly obvious. And tell God, see, there are some people who are very, very sensitive to the Lord. I have to tell the Lord, make it billboard clear to me. Make it to where I can't deny it. And he'll do it. He definitely will. And I just want to tell you guys, man, do what you need to do this year in order to become the people that God wants you to become. And don't be afraid of sacrifice. Do not be afraid of sacrifice. The reason why we don't want to sacrifice is because we think our faith is not at a level where we know that whatever we're gaining from what we're having, God can replace it. Listen, God can, that satisfaction of whatever that thing is, God can fill that void. Matter of fact, God is the only one who can fill that void to satisfaction. So I want to encourage you, man, sacrifice whatever you have to sacrifice in order to become the person that God wants you to become. I love you all. Hey, don't forget, I'm finishing up the favor sermon this Wednesday, 7:00 p.m. in Covington, Tuesday at 7:15 in Slidell. Also, join us next Sunday, man. We had an awesome time. God met us this past Sunday at 1148 North Columbia, 745 and 1045, 57209 Allen Road in Slidell. The first Sunday in February 5th, we are on the tube, baby. We on WHNO, 7:00 a.m. starting February 5th. If you can't get to us, we're coming to you. Be in prayer about that. If you want to support it, go to myfaithbible.org, click on TV ministry. I love y'all. Have an awesome week. God bless you all. Pray for me, Caroline. Caramel Cone, it be calling me, man. It be calling me, y'all. It's calling me.